Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see, back on F1 2020 as always, and we are going to go back to trying to go against the 110% AI, and of course, it being Bahrain this weekend, we have to do it this track, and I'm going to do it with the racing point of Sergio Perez. And Bahrain, I don't really go against the AI that often, but I've heard it's pretty difficult. Don't quote me on that. I could be completely wrong. It could be one of the easiest ones, but from what I've seen in the past, apparently this is one of the more challenging ones on the calendar on this game. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to run a proper league racing setup, and I'm just going to give it my all. So yeah, this is pretty much my attempt, and a lot of this is going to be completely unedited because I felt like I drove extremely well in this video. Couldn't really have driven any faster, any better, especially with the setup that I'm using or anything at all. And these are just my first few attempts I did here, going round the outside, doing a nice move into P3. And when you're racing the AI, you have to be quite fortunate at some points because you can't really afford to let Hamilton get away. Otherwise, he is just so OP. And you can see we've got a safety car, which I can confirm happened 5 times in a row. So this was definitely a pre-programmed thing. And sometimes it does a full safety car, sometimes it's a virtual. But keep an eye on the delta between myself and Leclerc. I don't know if there's an issue with the delta underneath the safety car. There's a few issues with the safety car, I think, on this game. But I was keeping to my delta, and I wasn't really getting any closer to Leclerc. He actually extended the gap quite a bit on me. And you can see some people have actually continued. This AI, man, they've just continued. Verstappen has just continued. He didn't pit. So this is my actual run now after getting over that. Get 5 lights, trying to get a good start, and the AI initially get a really good launch, but in the second phase I always got a much better launch than them. So I'm just trying to bang it down the inside, trying to be as respectful as I can. In real life, my side pod probably would have been heavily damaged there, and on this occasion Hamilton has actually got out into the lead, which you really don't want against this AI because he is definitely the most OP, along with him and Max Verstappen. But in this racing point, the racing point feels quite nice. I actually tested the Renault and the McLaren as well, and the racing point definitely felt quicker to me. I definitely did a faster lap in it. And this will be a really good test now, because Leclerc's quite good, but the Ferrari, I know, has been significantly downgraded, especially in a straight line, which we're probably going to see quite a good example of very shortly. But yeah, I felt like I gave it absolutely everything on this run, and I think this is just a good showcase, a good raw piece of footage showing you how OP they really can be. And again, I don't know if this is a track that the AI are particularly good at, but I felt quite good at this track. I used to really hate it on the last game, but this game I actually won around here in TSRL, and the pace in the race was very good, as it normally is. Quality needs work, but the race pace is always pretty OP, as we're making quite an easy move on Charles Leclerc. So just again illustrating that straight line speed, and we've got about a 2-second gap to the OP mobile of Lewis Hamilton with this 110 AI. And of course, no assists are being used as always, which I think I have for the last 4 to 5 years now. And these laps are the ones that I'm really going to be showing. I'm pretty much going to be showing you really just the first stint. Setting a purple as Kimi Räikkönen has gone out of the race. As I said, that was pretty much a pre-programmed thing in this run. In the last 5 or 6 attempts, he always went out of the race on lap 2. Even when, obviously, I'm restarting the session as well. Always went out of the race, but sometimes there was a safety car, sometimes there wasn't, which I'm probably going to discuss in a completely different video. I don't want to rant about the safety car on this game right now, but in the moment I'm just going absolutely full send, trying to deliver this ultimate race pace. And you can see the gap is pretty much neck and neck with me and Hamilton right now. This is a very nice lap that I've actually done, in fact. I'm still trying to conserve my ERS as much as I can, because whenever a race gets AI, I always notice that they really deploy their ERS early, as we do a 27.9, which I was really happy about, to be honest. That was actually really good, and the setup I'm using here is the same I used at Silverstone as I did in my TSRL race last night, and it actually felt incredibly hooked up around this track, so I'm looking forward to doing this track again. But yeah, at the moment we're driving extremely well, very consistent, very on the limit. But going back to the AI, I've noticed, and a lot of other people have said this as well, is when you get within about a second and a half of them, they really start to unleash all of their ERS, and particularly at the start of the race they just unleash it anyway. But also when they come out of the pits for their second stint, they just, on that first lap, it's like they just got 100% ERS, and you can see with that small mistake pushing to the absolute limit, you can see how much that has cost me. That has cost me just an immediate 3 to 4 tenths, because we were actually closing in on Hamilton at that point. I actually thought I was going to catch him pretty quickly, but one mistake against this AI, especially in a car that is not on the same level as the Mercedes, you're going to be punished. And yeah, you really have to push insanely hard. I think if I was in the Mercedes, I think we would comfortably be putting a gap to Lewis, and I think in the Ferrari and the Red Bull, I had a little test with the Red Bull and it was quite easy to beat this AI. So in the Racing Point, Renault and McLaren, I think it's an extremely good challenge for you to beat this AI. I think I actually did it at Spa in the Renault recently, I think a month or so ago, which was a really fun thing. And you can see again, really closing in on this gap, so they seem to really chill when you're outside this 1.5 second window, but then as soon as you get within it, he just thinks, nah, you're not going to catch me, I'm just going to deploy this ERS. And you could just see he gained about he went about 2 tenths in that little sequence of track just there as well. And I'm just driving my absolute wheels off right here. I'm trying so hard to get this DRS zone, having to be so precise, and driving pretty much as good as I would be in a league. But you can just see the gap is going up now, and he's just thinking, nah, you're not going to get within 1.5 seconds of me. I'm just going to use this ERS and I will see you later. You can see the delta is just going up so much on the straight here, and I'm just having to do everything I can to try and limit that gap. And apart from a couple of mistakes through that double left, this is pretty much almost a perfect first run for me going to here. Absolutely nailing that apex, getting the traction very nicely. Going to use a bit of the ERS, but now I am starting to get a little bit low. Seem to be a little bit quicker in a straight line once we do get up to speed, especially through this turn 1, turn 2. I really enjoy this first gear, but a little extra rotation, but again, a little snap of the oversteer, and you can just see how much that has punished me on the delta. That has cost me 3 tenths. So you really have to be on the limit, and I think this is actually, to be honest, this is actually quite good practice, especially for a league race or something like that, because something I've definitely worked on myself recently is definitely just being a lot more on the limit in the race, because I feel there was definitely more potential as Vettel has gone out of the race. And I think I showcased that at Silverstone and in my other races recently, definitely just pushing the boundaries a little bit more. But you can see against this 110 AI, it's definitely a tough competition. But I would say in the Mercedes or the Red Bull or even the Ferrari for that matter, it would be a fair amount of a challenge. As now I went out wide there because I felt like I was about to spin with my tyres. I could kind of feel the grip really is starting to go at this point. You can see that gap is now starting to go up. But as I said, I think if I was in a Mercedes, then it would be fairly comfortable. It wouldn't be easy, but it wouldn't be too difficult either. As we decide to pit now, the tyres are really started to go off, and these are the important laps. So the gap is about 2.1 seconds. Having to go in reasonably early because I just started to feel my tyres are really starting to get away from me. Even in like a 50% race, the softs around here are really horrible to drive, in all honesty. So now we're going to come out of the pits, coming out in P17. Got a little bit of a gap to the Williams pairing of Russell and Latifi, so that's actually worked out quite nicely for me. If I can get in their DRS without losing any time, and as you can see I've got quite a bit of ERS to use as well, then we could actually make some inroads in to the AI of Hamilton. So I'm really trying to catch Latifi in this middle sector, so I really am actually pushing it now. Don't really have to manage the fuel too much. I'm putting it in lean. A lot of people ask me why I do that. The reason why I do is just to give me a bit better traction and to minimise the tyre temperatures and the wear. It's not really to do with the fuel most of the time. It's really just to preserve the tyres and just give me the best traction possible. However, sometimes you'll see me leave it in rich, and the reason why I do that is because it actually does give you a little bit more extra rotation, just with those extra revs and engine power available. And you can see we managed to catch Latifi at quite a nice time. I'm going to be a little bit compromised through this corner here, so I'm going to get the slipstream, trying to avoid using the overtake button once again. So he's going to go defensive. I'm going to try and take the race, and I have to leave a little bit of room, but I think he's unfortunately been a little bit of a casualty with my rear wing. You can see his AI has suffered as a result of that, but we do have the DRS, and this is good because we don't have to use any of the ERS, so it's crucial that we get past Russell, ideally going into turn 4. So getting a good exit coming off here, using the overtake button and the rich mix here, so pretty far back, and we're going to send it down the inside. The AI will just turn in on you no matter what, I can promise you that. On this game, they don't seem to realise where you are on the track whatsoever. They will just turn in like you don't exist. So pretty ambitious, but we definitely needed to do that, and I don't think that's really cost me too much time. We could have definitely been held up a lot more than that, so it wasn't too bad. And now it's just a case of just pushing on as much as I can. And you can see Hamilton's going into that last corner now, so when I'm coming into this corner, I always look at that point in the map just to see if I am gaining at any point here. I'm really running out wide, making this corner just an absolute nightmare in steering angle there. It's so easy to lose the car going through there, especially in equal cars. It is a horrible corner if you get caught on that curb. But now going into the last corner, a lot of the AI have stayed out. Some have decided to pit, but Hamilton has continued, along with, I think, Verstappen or someone else like that as well. So going across the line, it's a 29.2, which is not too bad on these medium tyres, but the Hamilton is staying out. But it shouldn't really make too much of a difference at the end of the race because these mediums are pretty durable. So we shouldn't really have any issue here. So we're into P4 now, so most of the people have pitted, and the gap to Verstappen is about 17.3 seconds. So it's good to keep an eye on that because Hamilton's most certainly going to be faster than him. So if I actually am gaining the Verstappen, you can see in the corners we really are gaining in the corners. Just about 2-3 attempts here. Going into here, trying to get the good rotation through this corner. Felt pretty nice. I actually really enjoy this double left here. One thing I do have to do is definitely move the driving standings on the top left a little bit higher than that because it was blocking the apex. So I have to definitely go in the OSD or OCD settings or whatever it is to change it a little bit. And going to this last corner, it looks like I have gained a little bit of time on Hamilton. And has he pitted? Yes, he has. He has pitted on this lap here. So this is crucial. I've got to use all of my ERS on the exit to give myself the best run possible. Verstappen's actually pitted as well. My teammate has still stayed out at this point, so he's going quite long as well, and I expect him to pit this lap, which he does. So we're going to use the rest of our ERS because it is so crucial that I'm either ahead or I'm literally side by side. But you can see we definitely have made some inroads, but remember when I was talking about how OP they are with the ERS? So I'm within this second, and look at the acceleration. Look at that acceleration. I'm using the overtake button and I'm still losing 3 attempts. It is an absolute rocket ship off that corner. You can see here I'm using the overtake button again, but just look at the delta. The delta is going up so fast. So in the corners I'm gaining it back, but we'll be able to see on this middle straight as well, locking up ever so slightly, but getting a pretty okay-ish exit. But you can just see, just in the straight line, he's gained 3/10 on that exit here. I get quite a decent exit off this corner. Let's look at the delta once again, and it's just absolutely skyrocketing at the moment. No, he's definitely deploying his ERS, and we're quite relatively low on the ERS, but you don't really get any disadvantage with the ERS until you're about 10%. That's when it doesn't deliver as good power as it normally does. So at this point, there shouldn't really be any difference. And yeah, you can just see the delta. That's exactly what I'm talking about. As soon as they come out of the pits, the first lap out of the pits is just absolutely insane. It's like they don't have to warm up their tyres or anything whatsoever. And I think when I did a video at Spain against 110 AI, which I actually won with Albon, Verstappen pulled that 2 seconds of me in the first 2 laps, but then they actually started to close in at the end of the race. But skipping on to here, you can see the gap is extended by another second again. We were very consistent, so we kept on doing 29 2s, 3s and 4s, so within 2/10 at all times. But you can just see that gap is just going up and up. And Verstappen has been put on hard tyres as well, which is comedy club. So yeah, this AI is very random at times, especially with the safety cars. And when the safety car comes out, either the delta is messed up, or sometimes they continue. And also just when they actually put on the tyres, sometimes they're put on hard tyres, which is just, it's mind-blowing that even happens. And putting on hard tyres around here in a 25% would be absolute agony around this track. But you can see on this last lap, I'm really pushing it as much as I can, really stretching the limit of the fuel as well. But I would have to say the AI definitely seems to be pretty challenging around here. Yeah, pretty challenging, but I think being in the Mercedes, I think it'd be a good contest for sure. And I think that's really where you want it. And you've got to think as well, people who are not as experienced as myself in these games, who people are a lot more casual and stuff as well. Because I feel in this game, definitely qualifying is, not, I wouldn't say a weakness, sometimes it's a good strength of mine, but in the race I feel pretty content in this game, especially on the Xbox console. I feel really strong, and I felt like this run was pretty good. So I think the AI are quite a decent level around this track. But let me know which one you want me to do next. I think there's many more that I can do. Lewis Hamilton wins, of course. I'm going to come home in P2 in the Racing Point with Perez. I was pretty happy with that effort. Give me your predictions for the race tomorrow as well. I hope you're enjoying it, and thank you so much for the support on my channel. 160,000 people following now, which is still absolutely insane to me, and yeah, it truly does mean a lot. So thank you so much, and I will catch you soon. Peace.